Hello! Welcome to Q&A with Creatives. I'm your host, Sheila Frank, designer and entrepreneur. Each week, I'll be chatting with artists, designers, photographers, musicians, stylists, and more. This is a live chat, so if you'd like to chat along with us, please comment below. This week's guest is a beauty and style blogger. She is known for her partnerships with Bonlook, ModCloth, HomeGoods, and Disney. So, without further ado, join me in welcoming Keiko Lynn.
Hi,
Hi! How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, very good. I jumped right on, so we're in it. So, yay! So, I'm happy to have you here. This is exciting.
Thank you for
How's everything going?
good. How are you?
Awesome.
You're in
So,
Philadelphia, right?
I'm Harrisburg.
Oh, okay.
So, it's north of Philly.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I know somebody else who lives in Harrisburg.
cool. I love it. I like the little towns.
Yeah.
Fun. Yeah. So we met in 2008, I think it was,
Yeah.
through a blogger that was holding a show, it was like a little party. And Snapshot Fashion,
Yeah.
Danielle, that's who
Yeah.
it was. And yeah, I don't even remember much of that, but I know it was fun because that was when I was first starting out in my career, and it was a neat experience. But you are you're so cool. I feel like I
Oh,
have watched Journey. Sorry, I get red when I talk sometimes. I've watched your journey, and it's so neat. You are like the OG influencer. That was not even a term when you started out. So I love it. I want to talk about your journey. Like, how did you start blogging and to what you're doing today? So
well,
talk to me.
I don't know if I don't know if you would even remember this, but I actually the first time I met you was not through Snapshot Fashion. It was through Susan from ModCloth.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah, so
Yep.
that
Okay.
was
I
when
remember that.
ModCloth was carrying my line. They were carrying the accessories from my line called Post Seria.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so we
wow.
went to see your show. Um,
That's right.
yeah, so
Oh,
that was my first time being introduced to you, but you were in the middle of New York Fashion Week. So
that was crazy. That was at FGI, and that was 2010, I think it was. Oh my, see, time goes so fast.
yeah,
But yeah, I remember.
maybe that was after then. I don't know, but I do remember what you're talking about with Snapshot Fashion. Um,
Yeah.
but so the reason why I started blogging was back when I was in college. Um, I was a theater major, and I remember during orientation they said you cannot have a job, and I was like, I need to have a job.
Yeah.
I don't have anyone paying for things for me, and they were like, then why are you a theater major? And I was like, oh, so this is for rich people only. Okay, I get it. But so I had to figure out. I would sometimes be at school from like 7 a.m. to like 1 o'clock in the morning. Um,
Oh man.
so I had to figure out a way to make money that
Hmm.
wouldn't require a normal schedule. So I started making clothing. So,
Yes.
and back then it was like I made my own clothing anyway, but it was more so like reconstructions. Like
Mhm.
I would go to the thrift store and I'd buy T-shirts and take them apart and put them back together, and just like make things my own. And
Right.
people were asking me about them on campus, so I was like, well, I just start selling these.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And I already had a blog. It was on LiveJournal at the time. But so I decided, why not, use this as a marketing tool? And that was before it was ever used as a marketing tool. So
Right.
I saw it started getting picked up by publications, not because of my clothing line, but because of the fact that I was using my blog to promote my clothing line. And so it made me realize, okay, there's something here. And so
Excellent.
it evolved over time. And now I no longer have a clothing line. I've been focusing also on my eyewear with
Hmm.
Bonlook, but it just worked out because I didn't plan on being a clothing designer either. you know?
Oh wow. So with Bonlook, so with your partnership, like how did that come about? How does a sponsor come to you as this influencer type person?
Well, with Bonlook, it was I can't remember when we started working together before my line, but they approached me because once I started wearing glasses, I became known for this very specific shape of cat eye glasses. And so they said they wanted to send me some stuff, and then they're based in Canada, and so when they came into town, we had lunch, and we just realized that it was something that would go really well together because I was telling them how I love cat eye glasses, but at the time it was either you go vintage, which are too small for my face,
Right.
or they were just like not, they were like too modernized.
Mhm.
It just was, there was nothing in between. They were a little narrow and stuff. And I was like, I really want an oversized cat eye frame. So they're like, why don't we just make them? And then that was like 6 years ago. Um,
Wow.
and since then, it was just like they sold really, really well. And we made a few new styles, and those are currently on the site right now.
Hmm.
So it was just, I hate how everyone always says it was organic, but it really was.
Oh, that's great. What, so are you continuing with the line then? So you've done a couple different frames. Is that your goal to be like an eyewear designer?
It's still not my ultimate goal. It's a capsule collection, which is really nice because then I just design the frames. They tweak them because they have people who went to school for this.
Mhm.
And we just go back and forth, and it can be done remotely. um, I know that they are moving away from coat branded lines. I just found out, unfortunately. So my line will be a casualty of that. um,
No.
yeah, which is really unfortunate because they're
Yeah.
honestly they're my favorite. I wear them all the time.
Yeah.
I know I'm biased, but um,
They're cute. I like the style. I love the shape that you have because I don't work well with the smaller shape either of the cat eye. I'm a fan of cat eye as well. So
yeah, yeah.
that's neat.
I wanted something a little, I just wanted something bigger, a little more dramatic,
Mhm.
because I like to wear my glasses as an accessory too. But yeah, so that's not. I mean, I probably will revisit in the future. Maybe I can entertain something else down the line. But it is
Yeah.
so much work to put into your own line, as you know, as a designer. So
Mhm.
the idea of having a capsule collection is like the dream because you don't have
Yeah.
to really do all the order fulfillment and customer service and production and everything. You're just designing.
That is excellent. See, I love having these conversations because I like to learn about creative people and their journeys and like the different things that they do. And I'm sure there's like influencer people that follow you that are like, how is she doing this? Like, how is she making it happen? And so, like, with ModCloth, you're still with them. Like,
Yeah.
you're still doing, I saw a really cute post. I love that. How did they approach you? Like, how did you guys find each other?
Well, Susan was, she's no longer with the company. She sold the company, but
Which, congratulations to her. That's
yeah,
incredible.
that's
To
another thing
like,
I loved watching.
yeah. Wow.
So she started selling vintage out of her dorm room around the time that I started selling, you know, reconstructed and handmade clothing out of my student apartment. So we kind of like had parallel paths at that point,
Yeah.
and then we just both went in slightly different directions. But we connected when I moved to New York. She was like, "Can I come to your studio and check out your clothing line? I'd love to carry it for ModCloth." And I was like, "Shoot, I don't have a studio." I have a
Understood.
very small apartment in Brooklyn
Mhm.
where I make my clothes. So I remember like being very intimidated by the idea because I did not go to school for design.
Mhm.
I'm self-taught, not self-taught seamstress. My great grandma was a professional seamstress and taught me, but in terms of design and
Mhm.
pattern making and everything, I was self-taught. And so I was always like scared of like somebody peeking behind the curtain. um but
It's okay. I started in my dining room, so and now I have a brick and mortar. So
yeah, I feel like once you get over that fear of being
Yes.
exposed as somebody who like doesn't know all the things. You realize that everyone's kind of
Hmm.
learning their way through. And I remember seeing Project Runway and like Christian Siriano like pulling his bed off the floor and being like, "This is where I live." And I was like, "Okay, so it's not just."
Right.
But then
Absolutely.
they started carrying my accessories line, because I really couldn't fulfill the orders that they wanted for my clothes. I was still trying to figure out the manufacturing process. So
Right. And
um,
they don't, you don't really learn that in school either. It's kind of an on-the-job training. Like I've been learning through the years, that wasn't something that was taught. So,
see, and I didn't know that, but I also didn't realize how much of it is just like word of mouth, because it's a little different now, but still the
yeah.
garment industry was just not online. They just,
Hmm.
now
Absolutely.
there's even still now they're so old school. They're so
Hmm.
old school. So you have to know one person. Like my fabric guy was like, "This is a pattern maker you should work with." The pattern maker was like, "This is the grader that I work with." And then I was like,
Yes.
"I need bias tape." And they're like, "Oh, this person just makes bias tape." So it was like a game of telephone, but yeah, I just
And
figured it
good
out as I went along.
networking.
Huh?
Yep, you're creating that network,
Yes,
and that's
exactly.
all absolutely word of mouth and good relationships with people. And that's what I tell people too, because when they ask me about having a clothing line, I'm like, it's a network of people. You don't just dive in and say, "Hey, I'm starting this."
Yeah. Yeah, it really is something that, even without the schooling, I felt like I learned so much from that process that if I ever were to jump back into having a line, I at least know what goes into it. And I don't think people realize how much work it is.
Oh,
So much.
oh my God. I think you should. I see you being like the next like Cynthia Raleigh, like you know how she has her fashion and she has lifestyle. Like I could see you being that next person.
One
So
can
you
dream.
should do it. I think you should. But so, um, ModCloth and then HomeGoods. Tell me about that. I just discovered HomeGoods. I'm late to the game with HomeGoods.
Oh, I love
It's a cool
HomeGoods.
thing. Yeah.
So that's another thing where I just talked about HomeGoods a lot. Because
How
I
cool.
like
Yeah.
all of my decor is either it's vintage or it's from HomeGoods pretty much, because I love that you can walk into HomeGoods and it kind of feels like going to a flea market, because every HomeGoods has different things. And that's the
Mhm.
thing that I like about going to flea markets, is just like the treasure hunt. So I talked about that a lot, about how like that was the one new store, like new like actual storefront that I really like shopping at, because it kind of feels like that. And
Mhm.
I know it can be frustrating for people because it's like you can't just like click on a link. You have to
Yeah.
actually go to your store and see if they have it. But I bought like these little deer from HomeGoods, and people love them so much. I got hundreds of DMs from people who were like on the hunt for these reindeer at their local HomeGoods, and like, "I have my friends going. My mom found them for me. My mom found me this one, but now I'm looking for this one." And so I think especially through that, they saw that I was like a very true HomeGoods fan. And so they
Yeah.
reached out and they said, like, "Do you want to do a long-term partnership?" And I was like, 100% yes. So
Probably felt like Christmas. Like that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, and it came
Yeah.
right after Christmas, which was even nicer.
Oh, cool.
But then the pandemic hit, so
Yeah.
we still have a partnership going, but we had to put it on hold because their stores are closed, and they're
Yep.
reopening now. But
Yeah. Oh, I want to talk about the pandemic, but not just yet, because I want to ask you about Disney. Like that's huge. That is huge.
oh,
Tell me about that. How did that happen?
well, I'm a huge Disney fan, huge, huge, huge.
Yes.
But I'd never really been on their radar.
Mhm.
And I mean, rightly so, because they're Disney. But I've done some projects with like they do a lot of licensing products and stuff like that. And I've done a lot of collaborations with brands who have done licensed Disney products. But a friend of mine actually, my friend Courtney, she's very sweet, and she had introduced me to someone at Disney Parks So
Cool.
I haven't worked with them on any campaigns like Disney directly, but
Mhm.
now I'm able to, like, you know, go to the parks for special events and stuff like that. And I've worked with a lot of their partners. So anytime something Disney pops up in my inbox, I'm like, yes, before I even read it.
That's so great. Oh, that's awesome. So do you go there like every year, right?
Yeah,
Almost.
I'm an annual park pass holder, so I actually do go
Yeah.
several times a year to make it worth the money. Um,
Yeah.
my family's in Florida, so they, um, when I go to visit them, we'll go to Disney and stuff. So
So your family's in Florida, so how did you come to New York?
I came here because of the clothing line.
Nice. Oh, that's awesome. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
so and then I just stayed.
Well,
But
I love New York. Yes.
I was flying back and forth, you know, to
Mhm.
because I was doing production in the garment district. I didn't want
Mhm.
to. It felt weird to start as something that was handmade in my, you know, little apartment to making it overseas. And so I
Yeah.
wanted to keep it small. I wanted to keep it. I wanted to keep like as much control over it as possible. So I was manufacturing everything in the garment district. Um,
Nice.
and so it was a lot of back and forth. And then I was like, I should just move, because what am I gonna, you know, like, how am I gonna further this in Florida?
Right.
Even back then, it's like it just wasn't the same. You can
No,
do it
it's very
remotely
different.
now, but
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
it was a struggle then.
Absolutely. I think that's why I started in ready to wear, and it was from 2008 till 2013 was my last ready to wear collection. It was tough because I'm doing it in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
So there was not a lot of momentum. And then the reason why I became a bridal designer is because I could not find a dress. And
really.
friends were asking me, yes. And I had a bunch of friends like, I can't find something that speaks to me. So I was like, dude, I'll make your dress. And literally, again, with word of mouth, in 2 years, I was able to open my store. It was crazy because I was like, whoa, this is a thing.
It's necessity is the mother of invention. You know,
Yes.
that's really what happens.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
pretty much what happened with me too, just because I couldn't afford to buy clothes. so So I was like, I might as well make them. You know, I know how to sew.
Yeah.
Um,
Your story reminds me of Sophia. Oh my God, I can't even say her last name. Amoroso. Sophia,
oh, Nasty
the
Gal.
yeah, Nasty
Yeah.
Gal. Like it reminds me of that kind of story. That's so
Well, she
cool.
was around the same time too.
Yep,
It's so funny
I
because
remember. Yeah.
I feel like she had a very similar story as Susan, where she was selling
Mhm.
vintage, and I don't know if it was out of her dorm room, but I know it was like in that same time period. Because I
That's
remember Nasty Gal being like, I remember from the beginning, like seeing the transformation from like vintage to like a storefront and then having their own line and everything. Um, yeah, it's kind of wild because I actually know a lot of people, not personally, but just people I've followed their journeys from that time,
yep,
and see
ditto.
how like everyone's kind of evolved in different ways. I see so many of these
Yep,
like MySpace people who have product lines
yes,
now, you know,
yep,
like very
yeah, I
successful
love it.
product lines. I love to see it. I love it.
Yeah. Well, MySpace is how I believe that's how I reached out to ModCloth. And because I'm pretty now I'm trying to remember what exactly happened, but I'm pretty sure I contacted them when I was doing a show or something like that. But I ended up meeting like their whole little team of hair and makeup models, and so now I've developed friendships with these other people, and they, like you said, they're all doing other things. But it's so cool, like how this ModCloth like created this.
Yeah.
They don't realize it, but I feel like everybody's connected. It's so cool.
Well, they were very early to recognizing the value of bloggers.
Yeah.
They were one of the first. They were probably the first small brand that I worked with
Hmm.
in a paid capacity back then. And they like named a dress after me, and they did that with a bunch of other bloggers. Like they would have, like, I remember they had like the B Jones style skirt,
Hmm.
and they had like a what I wore dress, and like different, you know, all these different OG bloggers
Yeah.
They had products named after them, and they would do like blogger of the month or whatever. And now you look at it and it's like, that was really smart.
Yeah.
You know, they really
Yeah,
got it.
definitely. Looking back, because I had some shows and I remember all these bloggers there, and I was like, what is this? Like, what is a blogger? I had no idea what it was. And that's why I just loved what you were doing too. So like I said, I followed your journey. I'm like, this girl, she's got it. When the term influencer came out, were you like, what does that even mean? Like,
I still hate the term influencer so much. I really do.
yeah.
One, I think that it is probably the most hated of career positions, especially right now. It's such a vague term because,
Right.
for one, I feel like everyone can be an influencer if they have influenced someone, you know, like it really is something that if you have a platform and somebody buys something from you or listens to your advice, I guess you're an influencer. So I try to stay away from the term. I don't care if other people call me that because, you know, it doesn't matter to me. And to
Right.
be honest, I still struggle to explain what I do without somebody saying, so you're paid to be a narcissist, you know, or something like that. So I just like, I haven't come to a place where I can clearly define what I say without qualifying it, you know?
Yeah.
I wish that I had a little bit more confidence in just saying like, this is what I do.
Mhm.
But I always feel like I have to be like, well, and then I do this, and so that people aren't just like,
Oh, yeah.
yourself is what you're saying.
Oh, sooner or later they'll get it because you've done so many cool things, and you're like the queen of DIY, I think, too.
Oh, thank you.
So, yeah. So you do beauty, and I'm looking at your website right now, lifestyle, like all this stuff. How do you, hell, I have a fun question. So you do all these videos. Do you plan out what you're gonna do? Like do you have like a weekly, monthly thing, or does it just pop in your head and you're like, ooh, I want to do this face of makeup? Like, how do you plan?
I have in the past had a content calendar. I'll be completely honest with you, that all went out the window during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Because there's some days when I will get a burst of creativity and I'll just want to shoot something. And then there are other days where I'm like, this just doesn't feel right, you know?
Yeah.
So it feels kind of strange planning out a calendar when things are so uncertain.
Right.
And honestly, I really wasn't great at sticking to my content calendar anyway. I used to have one of my friends, she was my longtime assistant, and every week she would write out a very detailed schedule for us and everything, and I would almost always not stick to it. She was pretty much my boss.
Right.
The only reason why she's not working for me now is because she got a way better full-time job, but she was 100% my boss. And so when she had to go on to bigger and better things, I was like, well, I guess I'm gonna have to like keep myself in check now. I don't really know how that's gonna work.
I feel like that would be hard. It's hard to have a schedule when you're a creative person, because same with me, like I try to plan and then I will literally change the collection that I'm working on. And then that messes up your whole schedule. But
yeah,
I like the way that you work.
Oh,
yeah.
I have an idea over here. And like you feel like you need to grasp onto that right now or you're gonna lose it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's me. I need somebody to reel me in sometimes.
Do you think early on in your career, did you say yes to a lot more things? And like now, are you able to be like, I don't know if that's for me?
So I went through ebbs and flows, and it's interesting you said that because I wrote a post about that. In the beginning, I was so terrified. I said no to everything because I had like moving to New York was so great for me because it also helped me overcome a lot of my social anxiety. I was just not very outgoing. I
get you.
so scared to go to anything. Like it was I would have to like call my mom and have her like give me a pep
Oh,
talk before I go to an event. And
yeah.
so I just say no to things, and I turned down some really big opportunities. They weren't paid too, so that made it a little easier. Back then, people weren't paying, but this was
Yep.
like maybe 2008, probably. And then I got this really, really amazing global campaign with Coach, and that was my first like big time thing. Even to this day, I think it's the biggest thing I've ever done. And I almost turned it down just because I was
Oh my
there,
God.
because I was like, I'm not a model, you know?
Oh
And
no.
they're like, yeah, we know, like we're hiring you because you're not
Yeah.
a model. Like, but
Because of who you are.
I just was really scared. And then looking back on it, it's like once I got there, it was fine. I was totally fine. And it's
How
more
did you
so
overcome that? How did yeah.
I kind of faked it till I made it. I think with experience, I realized that the worry before is so much worse than the actual experience.
Yes.
And so I just started saying yes to everything. And
Cool.
I don't like to flake. So that helped keep me accountable, because I didn't want to just cancel. So if I said yes to something, I was showing up.
Yeah.
But then I had to learn to start saying no because I got stretched thin. And there's a certain level of anxiety that comes with that as well, because as a freelancer, you never know when your next job is.
Yes.
So when you have, feast or famine, if you're having a slow season and somebody comes to you and is like, will you do this job for this completely unrelated product that you would never in your life use? Like on a good day, you'd be like, no thanks, But when you really need the money, you're like, how can I make this work? And
Right.
that's never a good idea, because that
Right.
can affect your future jobs. So,
Yep. And you're following and
yes. So I had to learn to have confidence in always being able to bounce back and for something better to come along. I also had to learn that my fear of letting people down is just vastly disproportionate to what they actually are probably feeling. Like if I'm invited to an event, I don't think the PR person is like, I can't believe she didn't say yes. Like I really don't think they care. So
yeah.
I just had to get over these weird feelings, and learn to say no, just because I was getting stretched so thin.
Right. And that's tough as a creative person. I think you are your brand too, so you have to learn to say no.
Yeah.
But how do you place value on yourself? Like, again, if someone's listening that wants to be an influencer, like how do you get paid? Like, how do you say this is what I'm worth? Is there like a negotiation that goes, or tell me about that?
So I am very lucky, and I have managers. I'm with an agency who works all of that out for me. They do all the negotiations, and they. Sorry, my sister started calling in the middle of this. She's not watching. Yeah, so they determine my fees. They do all the negotiations and everything. But one thing that I would like to see more transparency for is how they come to these fees. I'm not saying that needs to come from my agency, because that's obviously how they make their money. But I think amongst creators in general, we need to be more transparent with each other so that we can help have a common structure for how we get paid, because everyone's kind of all over the place.
Yep,
and there's
absolutely.
people I know that still don't get paid for what they do, and are just getting product in return and stuff. And like, if you do this for a career, you can't pay your bills with free lipstick.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, there's been a shift with that too, because I remember early on in my career when I would have models, I would trade them for a swimsuit. And it's like, how do you make a living? Because even myself, stylists would say, can I borrow this dress and this top? And I'm like, okay, but what's that going to do for me?
Yeah.
Like, I can't pay my bills. So that's interesting. Yeah. Oh. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
but
I think
wow.
there's a lot of parallels in the creative
Yeah.
industry because you're going to get a lot of people, and this comes from my side as well. There's plenty of influencers who will say like, "Can I get this for free? I'll give you exposure." And the reality is, the power lies with whoever is being approached, right? Like, not like you're coming to me because you want something from me, so you should pay for those services. And if I'm going to somebody else, then I'm not going to say like, "Hey, like, let me get this for free because I like have a lot of followers," you know?
Hey, absolutely. Oh, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, I think there's a difference. Like if you're approaching a brand, as you know, an influencer, if you're approaching a brand about an idea you have, um, for a collaboration, that's different. You can talk and say like, I would love to discuss a potential partnership with you, because that's really what our agents do as well. They're going to go out and pitch you. But if you're going to somebody and just saying like, "Hi, I want XYZ for free because I have," that's not cool. Like, that's
Right.
especially when it's like a smaller company who cannot afford to just give away their inventory for free, you know?
Right. That may have worked early on, but it's changing.
Yeah.
So that's great information. Thanks for sharing that. It's good for people that are interested in that avenue. So yay. Hey, so what is something that you want to do? Like somebody that you want to work with?
Oh gosh. Well, I don't really know if I have like a dream person to or company to work with, because Disney has always been that. So
Oh,
I just hope that I can continue and you know, building that. I had like a really exciting opportunity last year that ended up I had to turn down because of
oh.
life issues, and I'm hoping that that will come up again at some point in a different capacity, just
Mhm.
because I'm looking to branch out. And you know, Instagram could be shut down tomorrow, or you know, now with like TikTok being so huge, like it doesn't wield the power that it did at one
Yep.
point. You just never know what's going to happen, so I think it's really important to diversify. And so
Mhm.
I've been trying to figure out like what's next, and
Yep.
I don't know
Great
yet.
segue. Great segue for my next question. What have you been doing because of this whole COVID thing and shutting down, and you're, like you just said, diversify. You're trying to think of what's next. So tell me, what are you trying to do?
Well, I'll be completely honest. I haven't thought as much about the future as I should,
Mhm.
because the future feels so uncertain.
Yeah.
I've spent many a night stressing about it, like just like thinking about, well, what if, you know, I never get a job again? What if, you know, you just don't know. Um, but what I have been doing is focusing a lot more on just getting creative with limited things. So it kind of ties back to like when I had my line, it was just, you know, I used whatever I had on hand in the beginning. And right now you know, I take most of my own photos myself anyway. So I'm lucky that I don't depend on a photographer, because then, you know, I don't know what I would have done. So I've been doing a lot of self portraits. I've been getting creative with just things around the house. I haven't been leaving, so I've only left a few times and stayed
Ditto.
away from people and had my mask on
Right.
and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of difficult to shoot in a New York City apartment,
Hmm.
where you only have so many areas that are like, I don't even have room in my room. Like I'm in my room right now. And it's like, it's cute, but
Yeah,
there's not
super
enough
cute.
room that I could even take a full body portrait if I wanted to. It's a very small room. Um, so yeah, I've been focusing more on just like trying to get creative and not
Hmm.
hyper fixate on the future.
Right. I feel like you could do a web series. I really do. You're so interesting.
Oh,
I
thank you.
think it would be awesome. I think people would tune in, but fashion is definitely, it's weird right now. It's weird in the bridal part too. Like I've lost a lot of clients
Oh, I can only
because they're
imagine.
pushing it out. And it's just, for me, that's why I'm doing this, because I was like, what else can I do to try to stay relevant? But also, like, now I feel like I'm not in the right headspace with what's going on, too. There's so much craziness going on. It's like, how do you continue to be creative? Because it's not like you don't want to be pushy in what you're doing.
Yeah, I think
So,
that's the key, is not pushing it, because there are days when I just really don't want to do anything. And the reality is, when I do try to shoot on those days, I'm never happy with it. So I just wait, and I write down ideas. I try to brainstorm. It's not like I'm just like, lying here and just like waiting for an idea to come to me. I do actually brainstorm, but
cool.
I am not, what I've realized is I am not a hustler. I can't be like this all the time without having some major come down. So I just let things go naturally.
Nice.
And try not to be too hard on yourself, because like right now, I mean, I think about all the brides that have had to cancel their weddings, and I know that in the grand scheme of things, a wedding is not, the be all end all of the world, but I can't even imagine, like, you spend so much money and so much time, and then you have family and friends who have purchased tickets and booked hotels, and who knows?
Yeah.
And then everything just gets thrown out the window.
Yeah.
So
It's weird too. It's weird to even say what I'm about to say, but I feel like for smaller companies, smaller brands, there's a lot of us that are handmade bridal designers, and I feel like it's almost better for our bride because we can be compassionate towards them.
Yeah.
And not just be like, well, you need to come pick up this dress that you paid for and now you're not having a wedding. Too bad. But for us, it's like, it's more human. Like, it's more personable, but it's interesting. It's weird. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know what else to
but
say.
then it's like, but yeah, it's great for the bride, but it's way worse for you guys, because
Yes.
you don't, it's not like if you just are this huge company and you just write off the cost and whatever.
So that's why I've been doing little things too. Like, I'm doing stuff that I don't normally do, like alterations and accessories. And I'm like, I'm going to be making a bridal planner that I'm going to sell online. So I'm trying to think of ways to sell online, because that's where everything's going.
I think that's a great idea, because I talked about this earlier on. I was like, it's important to be able to pivot and not just like dig your heels in and say, no, this is outside of my wheelhouse. This is not what I do. Like, I kind of went back to my roots by making masks. I've made like, hundreds of masks and stuff.
They're beautiful. I love them. They're great. Tell people where they can get them.
Well, I'm actually not selling them. I did sell them last week. I did them as a fundraiser. I felt a little bit strange selling them, because it's not because I don't need to make an income from that. I'd rather people support smaller, like, I have friends who have Etsy shops who have pivoted to make masks. I'd rather them buy them from them. So I've been making them for healthcare workers, essential workers,
cool.
Some of my followers who just reached out and needed masks. And then I did a sale as a fundraiser for Girl Wonder, which is a local organization that mentors young Black women. So it's just kind of like been nice to have something where I feel like I'm helping in some small way, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's nice.
But it's good to pivot. I mean, honestly, right now with people, we're gonna have to wear masks for a long time,
Yes.
You're seeing more, like, Larika Matoshi started making these like super pretty, fun, like, ones that you would actually really want to wear. And so I love seeing these all these makers who have like independent clothing lines, or like a friend of mine does Mickey Mouse ears or Disney ears. And now she's making masks to match the ears and everything. I'm like, I love seeing that, because it enables you to still continue your line, but it's relevant to the current situation.
I'll be doing that for my next collection, which it's weird because I so badly did not want to jump on that bandwagon. I was like, it'll be done. It's no big deal, but it's happening.
It's still
So
happening. Yeah.
it's happening. So it's going to be weird. It's definitely a time in history that we'll look back and be like, wow, like never did I think I would be making masks for wedding dresses.
No, I know. But
So
I think about it this way, because I get it makes me really sad that, you know, things are so different. People aren't able to mourn or grieve their losses the same way as usual and everything, and they're not able to celebrate the same way they would be able to. But I think about that, and you know, someone I follow online, she had her baby during the pandemic, and she's also a Black woman, and I was just like, wow, like think about what you're going to be able to tell your kid in the future, though. Like, oh, I had you during a pandemic. Here's portraits of like your drive-by baby shower, you know?
Yeah. Oh
and also
God.
the world came together to fight for your rights. Like, I was like, it's so heavy right now, but in the future I thought, oh, that's going to be so lovely to share with your children, you know?
Absolutely. Oh, wow. Oh, now I want to cry. Sorry. That was beautiful. That was good. Yeah. Oh, okay. Shift. So, tell me something about yourself that people wouldn't know.
Oh,
I'm gonna ask you a silly question.
something that they wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Well, I think that people would expect me to be a lot more outgoing than I am, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And I really, like, I'm such a homebody. If I'm not traveling, like, I'm either traveling or I'm just at home. So the shift for me has been difficult because I'm not around my family. I can't get out and, like, you know, just get like fresh air, because we used to drive out of the city all the time just to like be in the country. But being isolated at home has not been that much of a shift for me. My boyfriend is like the opposite. He is such a social butterfly, and he is the most positive person possibly in the world. Like,
Yeah.
did you ever watch Parks and Recreation?
Yes.
He's a mix between Chris Traeger and Andy Dwyer.
That's a great combo.
He's those characters combined. But yeah, so it's helpful to be with somebody that is that positive. But I always say he's the sunshine to my rain cloud. So I think people would be surprised. I'm like a little bit of a pessimist.
Secretly, what is that term? An introverted extrovert, or is it extroverted? I don't even know.
One of those.
I'm a little bit like that too. I like being home a lot, but when I'm doing a project and I'm in it, I love doing that. So I'm the same. I get it.
Yeah, I can wear both hats.
Yes. Well, awesome. This was a great conversation. Thank you for sharing all this with me. So exciting.
Thank you for
yeah, you're welcome. Does anybody have any questions? I see someone from Tokyo is here. That's exciting.
Oh, I missed
somewhere that
it's my favorite place.
I want to visit so bad. So, fun fact, in 2008, I did a fashion show, Pet Fashion Week. It was at the Tokyo Big Site in Tokyo, and you know Model Mayhem, right?
Yeah.
That was a website back in the day. Somebody found me on there, and they were like, "Hey, can you make some dresses that'll go with these dog accessories?" And I was like, "Sure." Had these cool pictures, and that's my link to Tokyo. But
so
nothing came from it. It was just cool photos.
I forgot about Model Mayhem. That's how I used to get all my models for my website.
Well, I did too. That's how I made some seriously sweet connections in the fashion industry. Yeah. I have no idea what's happening with it now, but it definitely was a good time. It was a great time, actually, because that's when the internet and all this stuff was starting to happen. It was so cool. Like MySpace fashion, I was on their blog and I thought I made it. Like I was like, this is it.
Yeah. I remember TFP was like the
oh my god, yes.
Which also tells you how long ago it was that it wasn't like for digital, it was like for print.
Yes, it was for print. Oh my gosh. Wow. And now I'm having flashbacks. This is crazy. I'm going to have to look at some photos.
I know.
I have a photo of us. I look crazy. I was like
Was it
such
at the was it Heather?
Well, too.
Was it at Heather's that we did that with Diana?
Yes. Yeah, that was a cool place.
Mm-hmm.
I had models there. It was so hot. I remember it was so hot, and I was so nervous. And I just looked. It was like my first thing that I ever did, and I was like, like freaked out the whole time. And I'm like, who's this girl? She's amazing.
Aw, thanks.
Yay! You're welcome. All right. Wrap it up. I'm just kidding. So guys, everybody that's listening, this is live, as you know, and launching in a couple weeks. I'm turning this into a podcast that'll be on Spotify and Google and iTunes and all that stuff. So it'll be fun. It'll be edited. You'll have fact checks at the end with websites and all that good stuff. So yay. So
Awesome.
thank you so much, Keiko. You're amazing.
Thank you for having
Keep doing
me.
what you do. You're welcome. And I'll see everybody soon.
Bye.
Bye.